Alright, the sixth floor is the final card in Sora's first deck. If you picked Wonderland when I said to, you'll be picking Halloween Town. Now, if you did what I suggest as well, if you can flip them around, you'll be picking Wonderland. What you do need to know about the sixth floor is that it's a large level. You'll be going through every room here, so expect it to take a while. Halloween Town is at least fun compared to Neverland, and it has a few useful skills in it, and a few kooky skills at that. So let's go look at Halloween Town and let me guide you through it the best I can. A few things I should point out about this stage before we really begin. First off, you will notice that you're wearing the Halloween Town costume from the first Kingdom Hearts game. It's the only time Sora will change wardrobe in RE Chain of Memories. In the original GBA game, he didn't swap costumes at all. Also, you'll get Jack Skellington after a brief fight at the very beginning, as well as a new sleight to use with him as well. This opening fight's a good idea of what the monsters are in this level. For the most part, they're pretty easy, although you will have to deal with those flowers from Neverland, so be prepared to have some of your smaller cards broken by them, and they will attack cheekily from the ground just like before. But overall, the monsters in this world aren't too hard. As far as your friend card that's unique to the stage, you'll get Jack Skellington. He basically just appears and fires off a couple of spells. The more you stock of him, the more spells he uses. He's similar to Genie, and he's not a bad card to have. Best thing I've heard about him, there's 2 special sights you can use with them that you'll learn in this stage, so it makes Halloween Town a fun stage to go through. Alright, there are 3 special sights that you can get in this stage. One I got by leveling up. You should be at the same level I am if you're doing any grinding. And that's called Sonic Blade. It's a useful ability to have. You have to use 3 key cards, each different varieties that equal between 20 and 23. It's very fun to use, very useful, and does a decent amount of damage. Alright, another sleight you'll get right off the bat is called Terror. This will cause enemies to run away from you. Now, my beef with this card outside of Halloween Town, it's kind of useless because I can think of a million other sleights, well, okay, maybe not a million, but several other sleights where Simba and Mushu can be used that are a lot better than Terror. But inside Halloween Town, where it's just 2 summons card plus Jack Skellington if you can get them, it's not bad if you're having enemies surrounding you to get them to lay off for a little while. Your next sleight that you'll get is the Calm Bounty sleight. Now this one's a fun one to use in Halloween Town, and an okay one to use later once you get the Bambi card. I don't put Bambi in my deck usually, but this is an easy sleight to put off if you do. Basically, it's 2 summon card, or a summon card, a magic card, and a Jack card for Halloween Town, and then a Bambi card, a Blizzard card, and an item card everywhere else. Basically, it does what a Mega Elixir will later do. It refills your deck, and then also resets your counter, and it brings back every card, including cards that were used in sleights. So it's a very useful move. The catch with this Gifted Miracle, though, is that it heals you plus all the bad guys. So it's a little tricky to use in that respect, but it's not a bad sleight to have if you want to put Bambi card. I prefer using an Elixir or Mega Elixir that you get later, but again, if you like what Bambi does, it's not a bad sleight to use. It's Oogie Boogie, a ridiculously easy boss to beat if you know what to do. Basically, Oogie will throw out those dice and you'll have to break them using your cards. Just break his original card and then the dice will become ineffective, and then you can bust them if you want to try to find a gimmick card. Anyways, if you break 3 of his cards, the gate will go down, and then you can get up there, and you can just smack them with whatever, either button mash or use Sonic Blade or whatever to just damage them. Repeat several times and you should win. However, there's a few things I should tell you about him, I guess. First off, you do not want him to have those dice go through without you breaking them. If that happens, some traps will be released, and it's not always necessarily fun getting out of them. Another thing you should know is that the gimmick card will automatically lower those gates for you and stun Oogie, making them easier for you to beat up. all in all, he's a really easy boss, and he has one of the best boss cards in the Disney worlds, and that is Regen. If you don't play Final Fantasy, Regen just lets you slowly regenerate health by yourself, and that's what Oogie does. He's a nice card to have around in a pinch. Alright, before you leave this stage, I recommend saving this time and making sure you got your deck prepared for a hard boss fight, because you're going to fight one out in the hallway. And you're going to be fighting bosses out in the hallway from pretty much from now until the end of the game, with the exception of one stage where it gives you a break. So let's get ready. You're going to be battling Larxene. Just like her personality, Larxene is one nasty customer. She's very fast with what she uses. Her attacks can be very swift. She can combo using only one card. She can use lightning to pretty much pinpoint you down and attack you, and that's not counting her slights, which can be pretty nasty. I wholeheartedly endorse Sonic Blade against her. It's a good attack card. She'll have trouble breaking it, but be careful. She does possess a few zero cards and will break your slights if you're not careful. Use your best attack against her, and hopefully you put that Oogie Boogie card in your deck and will use it. Watch out for her slight again. One of them is called Mega Volt, and it does do decent damage against you if it hits. Again, use zero cards to break her slights the second you see them coming. You'll find out in these hallway bosses that having a few zero cards at the top of your deck ready to use whenever you reload them will come in handy, because they all use decks, they all use powerful slights, and zero cards are the ticket to stopping these slights right in their steps. So have a few zero in your deck, have them at the beginning of your deck so they're ready right when you reload, and it can be easy to find, and you'll find these hallway boss fights a whole lot easier. And these boss fights in the hallways are a lot harder than in the Disney worlds. Anyways, after you beat Larxene, she will give you the Lightning card, which I think is useless compared to the Blizzard and Fire. In my opinion, I don't usually keep it in my deck, plus another deck of world cards for you to use. Alright, a few things about the next world deck that you've just been handed before we go on to them. First, these stages are going to be huge compared to the last few floors. There may only be 3 real stages in here, but it will probably take you longer to get through this deck than the last one. That's how big they are. Second, new room cards will appear. We're talking Almighty Darkness or Guarded Trove and a few other cards. These are harder to use than the first ones, but they do have rewards if you choose to use them. 3, if you do grind, you will get something called the Room to Rewards cards, which will open up those locked Room to Rewards cards that you might have found throughout your first deck. You will find them in the later stages too, and if you want your first row, you're going to have to go back and get them. For the friend cards that you found in Agrabah and Halloween Town, well, the 3 real stages in this next deck will all have friend cards, but you won't get them right at the beginning of the world. You'll have to find them in one of the story rooms, and they can sometimes leave you. So just be aware of that. By now you should have a deck that doesn't really require friend cards. But just in case you do, they won't always be with you in the next several rooms. Also, each time you complete a stage, you will probably run into a boss fight. So be sure you save in those Conqueror's Respites and prepare your deck. You'll have a few tricky ones up ahead. And then finally, 1 through 4 does not apply during the 100 Acre Wood, because that is a bonus game, or rather a whole bunch of bonus games where you can learn a few interesting slights going through Winnie the Pooh's world. So, that one's kind of fun to do. If you want a quick one to do, that's the stage to do it in. So, now that you know, let's go on to the next stage, Neverland. Anyways, before I finish this video, I'm going to make a quick note of what you'll get if you decide to return to Halloween Town to use a Room to Rewards key. You get the move Bind. Not a bad move overall, but with Stop, Gravity, and Fire, by the time you get a Room to Rewards card and want to return here, you'll probably learn better slights to use those. For example, Stop, Lethal Frame, or Gravity's Fire Burst and Magnetic Spiral will do a lot more damage and be a lot more useful than just doing this. Bind pretty much paralyzes your opponents and keeps them from moving, although they can still launch attacks at you, they just can't move from their position. Again, like I said, at this point that I got back to Halloween Town, I had the Mega Flare, which, for a fire card, does a whole lot more damage and is a lot more useful than Bind.